What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Into the Squared Circle podcast. That's right. I'm your host, GBs, and welcome, man. And what a wild week of pro wrestling. So, here on the show, I'll get two highlights of each show, right? So, here on the program, I have two highlights from Raw, come with audio, two highlights from AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, two highlights from SmackDown, and two highlights from All Elite Wrestling Collision. Man, what a week of pro wrestling. It started high and it just went downhill, baby. After Friday night, if you know what's going on in the world of pro wrestling, especially on WWE side. But we will talk about that right here on the show. But before I continue on, follow me on my social media platforms Into the Square Circle Podcast on Facebook, X, Instagram, and right here on YouTube as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe. It got your attention, of course, and comment in the comment section, man, what you enjoyed this week in the world of pro wrestling. As I mentioned, it's a podcast available to all major podcasting outlets like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, all you have to do is type in Into the Squared Circle podcast. Man, just plug it in, man. If you don't feel like watching this on YouTube, you want to listen to it audio style. Of course, you want to listen on your way home from work or going to work or cleaning the house, however you want to do it. If you're a fan of pro wrestling, come on, support independent podcasting as always. And again, also available on Patreon, patreon.com/Into the Squared Circle podcast. All you have to do is for $1.99 a month, you are in the executive hot seat. That's right, folks. You're in charge of the bonus content. Wherever you want to talk about is up to you. If whatever topics you want to talk about. Again, some of the stuff here on the show will have very short, limited time. I'm going to do a 2-minute time frame for each segment. So if you want to talk hours and hours and hours, well, you could join me on Patreon, patreon.com/Into the Square Circle podcast. $1.99 a month. Whatever you want to talk about, we will talk about it. You want to review some classic wrestling? We can review classic wrestling right here on the show as well. So whatever you guys want to do, you guys are in charge. You're the executive chair producer. You are in charge in the bonus content. Of course, your name will be featured on the credits after this YouTube video and also on the podcast as well. So your name will be featured and get the credit as well. Again, patreon.com/Into the Squared Circle podcast. All right, folks, let's talk about Monday Night Raw to kick off the episode right now, right here on Into the Squared Circle podcast. There we go. All right, folks, so let's talk about WWE RAW. They went down this past Monday on the USA Network. It was a pretty decent show, but it was a heartbroken show, of course. So I got some audio, right? I'm having some audio. Then I will put 2 minutes on the clock, and we're going to crunch many things we can in 2 minutes. Okay. So as I'm ready to dial in here, the audio here, again, let me know what you guys think on YouTube. Drop it in the comment section, of course, what you thought about Monday Night Raw this past Monday. So I got two highlights, right? I have two highlights come out audio. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the audio. And we're going to discuss it after I play the audio. So here we go. I want to get this dialed in. There we go. So here's highlight number 1 of Monday Night Raw this past Monday, courtesy of WWE.com.
Recently, myself, I've never been much of a spiritual person. But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened.
So that was highlight number 1, the key moment where CM Punk came out and told the whole world that he is injured, right? I believe he tore a ACL and he will not be on WrestleMania this year. We will talk about it in a couple seconds, so stay tuned. So that's highlight number 1. Highlight number 2, I'm about to dial it in right now. And again, relates to WrestleMania. which will also relate to his coming Friday of this past Friday, which we'll be talking about right here on the show. So here is highlight number 2, courtesy of WWE.com. So let me get that in right now as I'm pulling this up. And here we go. Courtesy of WWE.com. Here we go.
And I don't need an answer right now. What I want is for you to think about this, because it is the biggest decision you will ever make in your entire life. And what I want to know is what's in here. What kind of man do you want to be?
Okay, here we go. So we got 2 highlights for Monday Night Raw, both audio clips courtesy of WWE.com. So there we go. Seth Rollins confronting Cody Rhodes. So Cody Rhodes came out and he is the Royal Rumble winner, right? He is the Royal Rumble winner. And man, so he came out and addressed the crowd, right? He came out and addressed the crowd. So actually right now I'm going to pull out the timers, 2 minutes. And before I get talking on both of those subjects, I'm going to put the timer on here on YouTube. And let's see, here we go. Boom. There we go. If you're watching on YouTube, I got 2 minutes on the clock. Okay. 2 minutes on the clock. Let's try to see if I can accomplish both subjects really quick in 2 minutes. So let's talk about the first one. The first audio I played, and it was between Drew McIntyre and Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. So I'll play it right now, 2 minutes on the clock. So CM Punk came out, right? Addressed the crowd, told the crowd that he's not going to be at WrestleMania this year. Heartbreaking. As a fan of CM Punk here, he came out and he's like, you know what? It's not so bad because there's other people out there who is suffering life-threatening disease or injuries. So me not going to WrestleMania, it's okay. It's okay. There's always next year, right? He referenced the Cubs, right? It's always next year. And man, what a shame. But Drew McIntyre came on and he's like, I'm not a spiritual person, but I did pray for you to get hurt. And you talk about a heel moment, man. So CM Punk out of WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre, we'll have to wait and see what directions he's going here. Seem like they're going to tease something here with Sami Zayn. All right, second highlight between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins came out, confronted Cody Rhodes, and he's like, you know what, dude? Don't go after Roman Reigns. He's barely around. He wrestled like 2-3 times a year. He's not a defining champion like I am. I come out each and every week, and everyone knows we both fight at live events, non-title, title on the line. So we're acquaintance more than you and Roman. It makes sense. I recommend it, and this is a fighting champion, right? Seth Rollins was saying, you know what, Cody, this is a blue collar champion. This is something maybe your dad would go for. So think about it, Cody. Maybe reverse your decision and come after me with the title. Do what's right for you. Be a man. So interesting words from Seth Rollins to Cody Rhodes. And let's see if he'll make a decision, because he will be appearing this past Friday, which we'll get to very, very shortly. So there we go. 2 minutes on the clock. And boom, right there. So we got 2 minutes on the clock. Let's read started here. So now we come back to me. So what do you guys think about Monday Night Raw this past Monday? I thought those two segments were pretty strong. They were really personal. CM Punk talking about, his friend who's a firefighter who has cancer in Chicago, visiting him all the time. And he realizing that him not going to WrestleMania could be heartbroken and mentally is going through a lot, man. This is the first time I'm seeing CM Punk very emotional on live national television and teary-eyed, man. He was crying. And I get it, man. He's gone through a lot. He busts his ass off to come back to the WWE. He busts his ass off to work and train and avoid getting injuries, goes to the Royal Rumble, get injured, and he was almost to the finish line. Almost. So what a shame. And I'm disappointed. I'm heartbroken, but the older he gets, the more injuries you get, right? And hopefully he can get a lot of healing. And man, just shake up the ring rust in between now and the next couple of months, and try next year, right? For CM Punk. So man, what a shame. It was very heartbroken show. But those are the top two highlights I enjoyed the most. And again, if you guys enjoyed it, maybe you guys had a different highlights for Monday Night Raw this past Monday. Drop it in the comment section of YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, send me a DM on Facebook, Instagram, and X into the Square Circle Podcast. Let me know what you guys think about the show. Okay, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'll have my top two highlights for AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS, right here on Into the Squared Circle Podcast. All right, welcome back, folks. And here we go. Let's talk about my top two highlights from All Elite Wrestling Dynamite this past Wednesday on TBS. Two highlights I thought was pretty decent. So before I get there, I got to say AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday, man, it had a mixed bag. It had a mixed bag in this past Wednesday. And man, there was some stuff that I had a hard time watching, but positive here, right? Trying to think positive. Some top two things I enjoyed this past Wednesday. The first one was a backstage interview between the AEW World Tag Team Champions Big Bill and Ricky Starks have a confrontation with Sting and Darby Allin. If you know, next Wednesday it's going to be a tag team match between Sting and Darby Allin. Potentially Sting's final tag team match, going for the titles in the wrestling and his 30-year career, right? So both guys had war of words, and let's play the clip here from courtesy of AEW.com. Here we go right now.
Ricky, I guess I'll start with you. You said that I was the first one that got face-to-face with you. I kind of admired something about you in those days because you were the only one who had balls enough to get in my face and talk some smack. And as far as respect goes, you have to earn that, Ricky. You got to earn it. And you, big man, I have faced many big men before in the ring. The only difference between them and you is they were killers. I'm not so sure about you yet.
Phenomenal from Sting right there, man. And man, hell of a confrontation, but we will talk about it when I have my 2 minutes on the clock here. All right. Highlight number two, second highlight, final highlight of AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday was the surprising return of RVD. I'm talking about Rob Van Dam here, folks. And as I'm about to dial in here on the audio, Rob Van Dam, surprise on Wednesday Night Dynamite this past Wednesday to face off against Swerve Strickland in the main event match. And here we go. Play the clip courtesy of AEW.com.
Nobody home. Crash and burn for RVD, buddy. But Swerve. Oh, with the chair. Is this going to be it? 1, 2. No! RVD's done it.
Hell of a match. And so we got that right there. We got two audios, two highlights. You know what the drill is, baby. So as you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock here really quick. So here we go, 2 minutes on the clock, and I'm about to switch it over right now. Here we go. So 2 minutes on the clock, and plus play. Here we go. So 2 minutes on the clock here. And so let's talk about the first one here. Sting and Darby Allin. And had a confrontation between Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Great promo from both teams. Hyping up for next week's match, right? Sting, Darby Allin wants to go for the gold before Sting retires on March 3rd next month. That's right around the corner. Sting career is about to dwindle down. Could they win the tag team titles from Ricky Starks and Big Bill? It's going to be tough to say, but come on, right? If you want Big Bill and Sting to win the tag team titles one more time before he retires, what a way to do it. is next week on Dynamite. And next week, Dynamite is going to be huge. Tony Khan's big announcement, like always. And man, if they win the title, you know they're going to drop it against the Bucks at Revolution, right? I hope not. But man, Sting and Darby Allin, if they won the tag team titles, hey, I'm down for it. So hell of a moment, hell of a segment between both teams. All right, highlight number 2 is between RVD and Swerve Strickland. It was a dealer's choice match. Swerve picked Adam Hangman Page versus Tonga Leoa, or one of the guys from the embassy. Hangman Adam Page won a dealer's choice between Swerve versus RVD in a hardcore match, and RVD brought out the ECW style, chairs throwing in the face, old school MMA moves, just old school Rob Van Dam, and hell of a match, and I enjoyed it. Both guys had a great match. At the age that RVD's at, he still kicks ass. Say what you want, he is phenomenal. This match was great, but Swerve Strickland won the match to make him look stronger. So I'm a big fan of Swerve, but don't worry about it, folks, because I'm gonna have Swerve Strickland later on the show. A little hint right there for another top moment of the week. So there we go, folks. 2 minutes on the clock. Here we go. So we're going to restart that for the next top 2 highlights. It's going to be a controversial one for the next one, folks. So if you're an AEW fan, if you give a rat's ass or not, drop it in the comment section on YouTube. What you guys thought about Dynamite? Again, I said on the top before I started this 2 minutes, it was a mixed bag of Dynamite this past Wednesday, and it's been rough the past couple of weeks. I got to say, there's some positive stuff, but there is some stuff I scratched my head a little bit here. But if I had something positive to say about Dynamite this past Wednesday, those 2 are my top 2 highlights. All right, so we're gonna take another quick commercial break. Top 2 highlights from SmackDown. Talk about controversial. Yeah, we got 2 minutes to talk about both of these, right? One of them is very controversial. And again, if you want to join me on Patreon, patreon.com/Into the Square Circle podcast. Again, we could talk in lengths about this top highlight on SmackDown, how it ended. We can talk about it for hours if we want to, right? Fantasy booking, right? Vent our frustration, that's not even a word. Vent our anger on how SmackDown ended this past Wednesday. But we will talk about briefly in my 2-minute quick overview on my top 2 highlights for SmackDown coming up next after this quick commercial break right here on Into the Squared Circle podcast. All right, man, welcome back. And let's talk about my top 2 highlights from WWE SmackDown this past Friday on the Fox. And boy, oh boy, it was a controversial one. And we will talk about it again, 2 minutes for 2 highlights. So I get a lot of this stuff off my chest. And we'll talk about the first one before we get to the second one. So I'll play the audio courtesy of WWE.com. And this one was a twisted turning here, folks, as WWE Women's Royal Rumble winner Bayley. Bayley won the Women's Battle Royal this past weekend on Premium Live Event on Peacock, of course. And the question is, well, what's the future? Who she's going to come after? She's going to come after Rhea Ripley, who is the champion of Raw in the women's division, or could she face her own stablemate, Io Sky, SmackDown? But that second piece there, folks, there's a little twist. What happened? Well, I'll play this clip right here, courtesy of WWE.com, and we will discuss.
And about that announcement, Io, I'll see you at WrestleMania.
Wow. So if you want to know what the hell happened this past Friday on SmackDown, that's if you watched it or not. If you didn't, Bayley turned her, well, I should say the rest of the Kabuki Warriors. Okay, let's fix that up. Okay, the Kabuki Warriors, who's part of the Damage Control, they were talking smack in Japanese to Bayley the past couple of weeks. Bayley's not dumb. She knows how to speak Japanese and learn and hear. And she kind of figured they were turning her back on her. Bayley counter, and she's like, I'm not stupid. You guys been talking smack behind me. You guys were planning on turning on me. So you know what, Io Sky? I'm coming for you. But you know what? I'm giving too much away. Say that for the 2 minutes. So that was the audio. You just heard from Bailey challenging Io Sky. Now let's go on to the second highlight of the show, which was a controversial one. And if you know what I'm talking about, it's all over the damn internet, right? If you're an internet mark that lives on the internet 24/7, you know what it is. If you don't know what's going on, and well, I'll play the clip here, courtesy of WWE.com. So as I'm about to dial it in here we go, playing it right now.
Matter of fact, I'm moving my own goalpost. I want that title, I want everything, and I am coming for it. I am coming for you, Roman Reigns. But not at WrestleMania. I mentioned taking counsel. Roman, one of the individuals I talked to, he knows you very well.
Yeah, there we go. Controversial. Oh man, I think I need more than 2 minutes to talk about that segment right there. But all right, let's get through it, man. Let's get through it all together as wrestling fans, because that second piece right there, they even shocked me, man. I can't say shocked me, but it's disappointing. But I got 2 minutes on the clock here. Let's discuss about the first one. Bailey, right? Let's talk about Bailey really quick. Bailey's coming after Io Sky. We knew that if you speak Japanese, of course, you've been hearing the Kabuki, Kalabai, whatever the hell they are, right? Io Sky, Asuka, Kairi Sane, they're turning their backs on Bailey. Bailey is like, okay, you know what? I kind of see what you guys are doing. You guys want to turn your back on me, talk smack. I'm going to come after you, Io Sky, for my Royal Rumble Women's Championship contract. So WrestleMania, I will see you. So that's going to be exciting. I'm excited for Bailey's next chapter. Boy, I hope she wins the title of WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see. But what a moment if she does. And kudos to her, man. So that's one of the highlights, right? One of the highlights of SmackDown. Let's talk about the second one here really quick. Controversial. Cody Rhodes I should say Roman Reigns came out, right? And he's like, Seth Rollins, you son of a gun, you talking smack about me on Raw. I don't care. I can do whatever I want. Cody Rhodes, you want to come after me? Fine, come on out. Cody Rhodes came out and he told the whole world, you know what, Roman Reigns, I will come after you, but just not at WrestleMania. Everybody's hearts sank. But there's one guy that knows you, and his name is Dwayne The Rock Johnson. The Rock came out and got in the ring, and he hugged Cody Rhodes. He told him something in the ear, right? And I don't have that video, but I will post a picture on YouTube right next to me. And The Rock spoke to Cody in the ear, and Cody had a big smile. And once The Rock was done whispering in his ear, you could tell Cody's reaction was sad. Like it went from happy to sad, like this, the snap of the finger, day and night. Whatever The Rock told Cody, your father being proud of you, you definitely deserve this. You know what? 2 minutes is done here, but hell, this is my show. I can do what I want. And you know what? The Rock whispered into Cody's ear, and he's like, you know what? I'm kind of curious. I'm just trying to think what Rock told Cody. He's like, your dad can be proud of you. You done a lot. BS. Typical corporate big guy response, right? You think it's full of crap. And, man, it's disappointing that Cody is going to hand off his opportunity to finish the story against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and give it to The Rock. Again, Cody's still the Royal Rumble winner, right? And I don't think he's going to give up his Royal Rumble contract here. So he still has a title opportunity, but it's not against Roman, right? The story's not completed, unified the right way. Yeah, you can face Seth Rollins. Yeah, he is the world champion. I guess Roman has the undisputed. I don't know what the difference is. I rather not have two giant titles. But then back in the day, you know, like the early 2000s, right? When WWE bought WCW, right? You had the big gold, right? The big gold belt from WCW roaming around. And then you have the WWE World Champion, right? You have the broken skull the wing title. Um, so you had those two titles on the early 2000s. So you had two world champions on Raw and SmackDown. So it's been a staple since the early 2000s, right? But in the 90s, you had one world champion, if you actually think about it. One world champion. Stone Cold had it, The Rock had it. So everybody, Mick Foley, everybody had one world title from the 90s, 80s, and 70s, and then met something. Do you necessarily need two world champions? You really don't. Yeah, you're gonna have to fight between both brands, and you're gonna have 10 times more work. You have to, but yeah, I mean, I get it. Roman Reigns treat the undisputed champion like he is God, right? According to Seth Rollins, and you know, I'm again just the way they present Roman in the title feels like that those titles means like it has to be done with him. It's hard to explain as a fan. It's hard to explain. But I prefer Cody versus Roman, but do we want to see that? And yes, we do want to see him defeat him at some point. But Seth made a point on Monday, right? I played the audio. We discussed it. Seth prove, or at least WWE is trying to push that title, that the title that Seth Rollins has more meaning to it, right? That's the defining champion, right? That's the champion belt you defend town versus town, country to country. You take it everywhere and anywhere and defend it like a real working champion. Unlike the generic WWE belts that Roman Reigns has. So I kind of get where they're trying to push it, get into the people's minds that Seth has the ultimate gold, the true blue collar champion, right? So I kind of get that. I kind of get that, and they're gonna push it. And you know, Cody versus, and no matter what match Cody's going to be in, it's going to be a great match, right? Him versus Roman's going to be a great match. Him versus Seth will be a phenomenal match for WrestleMania. And that's if that match will happen, right? So I get on the business aspect side, right? The business side of WWE, right? The biggest WrestleMania of all time, right? You got to outdo it each and every year, right? One night turns into 2 night of WrestleMania, right? 2 nights at the same stadium, sell out, money, revenue, right? This past Royal Rumble a week ago was the biggest Royal Rumble watched in history. Don't be surprised if this year's WrestleMania will be the most watched, record-breaking match or the pay-per-view of all WrestleManias. If you think about it. That's why they're going to stick with between Rock versus Roman. Business, right? Money, right? Merch revenue, record-breaking attendance. The most watched viewed on social media, the most watched viewed on Peacock history, right? Ratings going to be skyrocketing when it comes to the go-home shows between Raw and SmackDown that week. So, and I find it interesting that next Thursday on Super Bowl week, WWE is going to held a WrestleMania press conference in Las Vegas, even though WrestleMania is going to be at Philadelphia in April. But next Thursday, they're going to have a press conference in Las Vegas, and they're going to use the opportunity to probably lure all the big press, all the people that's flocking to the Super Bowl in Las Vegas next weekend, because that's where Super Bowl is going to be at. Everybody's going to be in Vegas, right? Everybody's going to be there for the big game. Press, all the big stars, all the big celebrities. So I kind of see why they're going to put the press conference in the hub media of the world in one location. And by the way, this press conference is free, so anybody can show up. So it's going to be interesting. And they advertise Cody's going to be there, Rock, Roman Reigns. And there's reports that they might make this match official next Thursday between Rock and Roman. So very interesting, folks. And Again, I'm trying to think business side here, how they will work things. Again, money and revenue, right? Record breaking numbers. And I think that's where Nick Khan, Tony Khan, not Tony Khan, wrong Khan, Triple H, all those guys on the corporate side, I think that's what they're going to aim for. They're on a sky high when it comes to numbers breaking, stocks flying high up in the air in the Wall Street. So keep it going, right? Keep things going. Obviously, with all the allegations between Vince McMahon and Johnny Ace, which is crazy enough, right? So just keep the momentum going. WWE is a fast moving train. They're not going to stop. They're going to continue to break numbers and make some world records and make each year bigger than it is. So nothing has been announced for Elimination Chambers, right? We know that Cody is the first person, the least officially announced that he will be on the show, but how and what capacity, what match, or will he be part of Elimination Chambers? We don't know, but hopefully we'll get some answers within the next week or two from Raw and SmackDown. So there we go, folks. 2 highlights from WWE SmackDown, and we will end the show with 2 highlights from AEW Collision after this quick commercial break. Can't speak. This next commercial break, courtesy of AEW.com. But here we go, right here on Into the Squared Circle podcast. All right, welcome back, folks. And I have my top 2 highlights from All Elite Wrestling Collision that went down this past Saturday on TNT. And, the first highlight from Collision this past Saturday, hell of a match, man. As Bryan Danielson continued to span the globe with the top best wrestlers across the world, right? He had a match with who did he have the match recently from New Japan? It was Yuji Nagata. He had a hell of a match from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He faced Okada in New Japan. So now he's facing somebody from Mexico, right? From CMLL, right? AEW has announced they're going to do a partnership with CMLL. I believe they're the oldest wrestling company on the planet Earth, I believe, from Mexico. And we know AAA was coming from the early 90s, and they have a partnership with TNA Wrestling. But AEW has announced they have a partnership with CMLL. And this match this past Saturday, of course, they were in a small town of Edinburgh, Texas, right? Not too far from the border of Texas and Mexico. And they brought in some great luchador wrestlers. And this match was between Bryan Danielson versus Hideko. I think that's how you say his name. Well known over there in Mexico. I think CMLL is in Arena, Mexico, right? I think they play in that arena, wrestle in the arena, whatever they will call it. But great match this past Saturday, but I'll play this clip courtesy of AEW.com. Here we go.
Trying to psycho knee. And Cesaro moved out of the way.
Oh, man. Got an answer for everything.
He does. He has an answer for everything. Rolls him up. 1, 2, right.
Oh, no.
So very action, high exciting, high octane match. But we will talk about it in my 2-minute quick review on both highlights, because the next and final highlight for AEW Collision was a great promo from Swerve Strickland. So here we go. I was about to dial it in right here. That was a great promo from Swerve Strickland. So let me get it in here really quick, and let's hear from Swerve Strickland on AEW Collision last night on TNT. Here we go.
And very soon we're going to add another name to that list, right? Whose house? This Wednesday, I got the opportunity to accomplish something that I said that I was going to do the second I stepped foot here in AEW, and that has become AEW World Champion.
Yeah, here we go. I love it. I love that. All right, so here we go. So as we get the timer up here, let's go ahead and share with you guys on YouTube. And here we go. We're going to get 2 minutes on the clock here. 2 minutes on his top 2 highlights from AEW Collision this past Saturday on TNT. In 2 minutes, here we go. Counting down, and highlight number 1 between Bryan Danielson and Hideko, how do you say the last name? But hell of a match, man. You got luchador meets a technical submission wrestler. Oh man, the both worlds collide in the ring of this past Saturday on AEW television. Great match, man. Hard hitting, slobber knocker, as Jim Ross would say. And I'm pretty excited for Bryan Danielson as his career winds down to a part timer. Putting on some great matches from a bunch of wrestlers across the whole world, from Japan to Mexico, you name it. And Danielson put on a hell of a match. And obviously, they're going to have a 4-on-4, I believe, next Wednesday against more wrestlers from, I think, Dralistico or Mestico, one of the wrestlers from CMLL against the Blackpool Combat Club. So I'm excited to see how that match will be. It's going to be a slobber knocker, but that was one of my favorite highlights from Collision this past Saturday. Danielson versus Hideko in a singles match. Great stuff, man. Go check it out. All right, final highlight from Collision this past Saturday on TNT. Swerve Strickland came on, right? Swerve Strickland came out, and he came out and he's like, you know what? It's Black History Month. He was naming the top superstars across the industry and AEW. He talked about Athena, who's phenomenal in the women's division, Ring of Honor. But Swerve Strickland, he has a big task ahead of him this coming Wednesday on Dynamite, because this coming Wednesday he has a hot date with Samoa Joe for the world title. I thought about it, man, and I hope it's true, and I wish it will, that Swerve Strickland could be the first ever Black World Champion AEW. I'm not sure if he's going to be the first ever. I have to look at the history books on that. But if Swerve Strickland becomes the first ever Black World Champion, that's history. That's history. And Swerve, I'm high on him. Right, I'm high on Swerve Strickland. He's one of my favorites in AEW. I hope they continue the progress and they push him to the moon. But could Samoa Joe drop the title? And it could be too soon. Swerve is a world champion. Yes, I could see him as a world champion. But could it be this Wednesday? It's tough to say. Again, that'd be history in the makings within the company. But I see Samoa Joe managed to sneak out of it, man. He beat the living hell out of Hook a week or two ago for the title. Don't be surprised if he destroys Swerve Strickland. Who knows? Maybe a slobber knocker of a match. But if Swerve's win it, man, that's history in the making. And just imagine Swerve winning the title. Phenomenal. That'd be a hell of a moment for AEW, right? So we'll have to wait and see. This coming Wednesday on Dynamite sounds like it's gonna be a big Dynamite this coming Wednesday on TBS. Another Tony Khan huge announcement. Maybe another tournament. Maybe another pre-sale tier for All In Wembley Stadium. Who knows what's gonna be? Another rankings, but we'll have to wait and see what's gonna go down this coming Wednesday on Dynamite. But in the meantime, those are my top 2 highlights of Collision this past Saturday. Again, drop it in the comment section. What matches, what highlights you enjoyed this past Saturday on TNT for Collision? Or if you listen on the podcast, send me a DM on X, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, right here on YouTube. All right, folks, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the show as always. It's been a crazy week of pro wrestling, especially on the WWE side. And wowee, man. All eyes are on this coming Monday to see what Cody Rhodes going to do. Is he going to chase Seth Rollins for the title? Hopefully, we'll talk about his next step since he got booted out by The Rock. And man, just heartbroken. But I'm pretty sure there's people who are legitimately mad that Cody's not going to headline WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. So I'm pretty sure people are out there burning The Rock's merchandise, probably throwing crap at the TVs, throwing the remotes at the TV, throwing it out the window. I'm disappointed, but again, on the business side, I think they're going to try to make the biggest WrestleMania of all time, right? A marquee name. Draw in all the casuals, right? All the people that doesn't watch pro wrestling daily like we do. They're gonna, attract all the casuals, right? Just like all the casuals are gonna go watch the Super Bowl, I watch the commercials. I got to watch the halftime. That's it. Hell with the game, right? That's what people want. Yeah, I want to watch The Rock and Roman Reigns. That's it. It's WrestleMania. It's a big marquee name. It's a big brand. Everybody's going to be watching it. Even the people that doesn't watch it or watch it casually, it's going to be watching it, just like the Royal Rumble, right? People I know are not a massive wrestling fan, but they are excited for the Royal Rumble because it's the Royal Rumble, right? It's a WrestleMania. It's gonna be the same thing in the books, right? It's just a big name event, and people will be watching. And when you add The Rock into the fold, you know it's gonna be a big time marquee match, a big time WrestleMania feel, and it's gonna be probably the match of the century. The next Rock versus Hogan, right? The next Rock versus Stone Cold. This generation of the next marquee name, right? Cody and Roman, right? We had it last year. And I think this year they're gonna keep pushing the numbers, baby. Get the views, get the money, get the record-breaking numbers, right? And that's what they're looking at, business, right? What's best for business, as Triple H would say. So, I try to plant down my brain, but we have to wait this coming Monday to see what Cody's gonna do next, right? So we got that going on. All right, folks. Again, follow me on my social media platforms, Facebook, X, Instagram, and right here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow, and podcast land, as I mentioned before in the beginning of the show, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. All you have to do is type into the Squared Circle Podcast. Again, join me on patreon.com/into the Square Circle Podcast. $1.99 a month. You're an executive's chair. As I mentioned, your name will feature on the credit at the end of the YouTube show. Your name will be featured on the podcast at the very end. And you can choose topics, stories, reviews. We can win some prizes from games. So whatever you guys want to do, you are in charge. Patreon.com/into the Squared Circle Podcast. Also, follow me on my secondary podcast and YouTube page, A Lesson in Headbanging Podcast. If you're a fan of rock, hard rock, and heavy metal, I'm over there as well. So hit the like and hit the subscribe right now on podcast and YouTube, A Lesson in Headbanging Podcast today. All right, folks, have a great rest of your weekend, or probably watching this during the beginning of the week. And have a great work week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy wrestling. Until next time, my friends, stay heavy, rock on, and happy wrestling. Bye-bye, everybody.